You're very welcome to the Irish Political Roundup with me, Roisin the Cleric.
And me, Paul Brophy. On the final stretch, the local election the actual voting takes place now this coming Friday, the 7th of June. We're joined by Councillor Joe Lyons, who is a Fine Gael councillor for the Callan Thomastown electorate area. Joe is a very popular florist and grocer based in Callan and was first elected to Kilkenny County Council on the first attempt in 2019. Joe is fighting to retain his seat in the Callan Thomastown electorate area, and he is one of three outgoing Fine Gael councillors in that area. Joe, you're very welcome to the Irish Political Roundup.
Thanks, Paul and Roisin.
Yeah, unfortunately we can't see you, Joe, but we can certainly hear you. So that's great, and we appreciate you taking the time out from canvassing to have a chat with us. Joe, Callan Thomastown, it's a massive area. Roisin and I were doing a bit of prep for the election count that's taking place next week, and we're delighted to say that we'll be there with the Irish Political Roundup. So we're very much looking forward to that. Callan Thomastown, Joe, it's an absolute massive area. How do you canvass that big kind of rural spread? I know you have two other candidates running with you as well, so that's a bit of a help. But it's a huge area.
Yeah, Paul, it is massive. The whole thing is really big. We have a bit of a divide. We have three candidates from Fine Gael, so we have it divided into three fairly even, and we're all kind of concentrating on that area for each of us to try and bring back in three candidates. In 2019, there was three elected, and we had Michael and Patrick O'Neill. Michael down in he's the current chairman, Michael Doyle, and
Yeah,
Patrick O'Neill, who is opting out of politics. And myself were elected in 2019, so we had a good return there. We divided up the area, and it worked very good. So we're doing the same again this time round, and hopefully it will be successful to return three Fine Gael candidates.
what kind of issues are coming up on the doors, Joe?
Well, surprisingly, there's one main issue, and that's immigration. Uh,
Really?
you, yes, you get the odd roads, housing, smaller issues, but we were
Yeah.
expecting, we're expecting a lot more. But the most common one is constantly coming up is immigration, and
Right.
everyone keeps saying they're not racist, they're not against people coming into the country, but they obviously don't want too many coming in where there is no facilities and where there is no like where you're affecting local areas that people can't get planning, people can't get housing, and others can come in and get every benefit. I think there's probably a line to be drawn there somewhere.
Yeah.
And do you feel, Joe, people are kind of afraid to speak out on things like this for fear of being labelled a racist?
Absolutely, yeah, because one to one they'll tell you, and they'll when you're leaving the door, they'll say, "Listen, we're not against anyone, any person, any color, any creed, but what we are is trying to preserve. Like if you have an area, and like say there's 50 or 60 in the area of immigrants, and the next thing you're trying to bring in another two or 300. I mean, that's going to destroy everything. And I know these
Yeah.
people have to go somewhere, but if every country in the world done their bit like Ireland, it would be far easier and there's less pressure then on this country. And at the moment now, there's an awful lot coming into the north, coming across from
Yeah.
England into the north, and it's wide open there. And like there's no control up there. I don't know what's really going on there, that there is
Yeah.
no, they're just walking in. And then you have the other
So
issue of people coming into the country with no papers. And like if you
yes.
went on a plane tomorrow from Dublin to any country, you have no papers, you won't be going boarding the plane. So it's simple as
No,
that.
it's actually an offence to come into the country without papers under the
Yeah,
2004 Immigration Act.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that's
Joe,
what's
my daughter is applying for a visa. She's a doctor and she's applying for a visa to go to Australia. And her UCD, she's two degrees. Her UCD degree has only her first two names, where her medical degree from University College Dublin has her three maiden names, three names, and they questioned that. So now she could go and get an affidavit to say
Well,
exactly who she is.
yeah, and that's what people are up against, and that's probably what's upsetting most people. And like you have, it's like two laws, one for the ordinary Irish here living here, and one for immigrants. And I mean, that's not acceptable at all. And like, we just have to draw a line somewhere. And people are, it's probably they're standing up. They don't want to be seen to be standing up in public, but it's one way of getting it back through councillors, senators and TDs back up the line. And something will have to be done.
And Joe, you're a Fine Gael councillor, and Fine Gael, there's been a change of leadership. Simon Harris is new leader of Fine Gael, and the new Taoiseach, and he's appointed a couple of new cabinet members. Has the change of leadership made any difference to what you're seeing? People's interactions. I know there's an opinion poll out there today, and today is Sunday, where you have Fine Gael and Sinn Féin are neck and neck on 22%, and independents are the highest at 23. So it just goes to show the kind of the state of flux things are in at the moment.
Yeah, it's very changeable, and in this area there are no independents. And Simon Harris, when he came in, he did make a difference. And I know Leo, like while he was there, he was a great statesman, great politician, but his time ran out. And I suppose his energy ran out more than time. And he just decided to throw in the towel and say, listen, for the local elections and for the general election, you're better under a different leader, under a new leader. And Simon has come in and he has brought a bounce to the party and new energy. And he's been all over the country. The man he's a bundle of energy, but like he's a straight talking man, and that's what people like. But we found on the doors people who actually bring up his name and talk about him, where you would rarely hear that. People bringing up a name of a Taoiseach, but it'll just tell you how popular he is with people right across the country.
Yeah, and if you're fortunate to be re-elected, Joe, what would be your priorities over the next 5 years?
Well, I hope I will be re-elected. And well, I'll have one priority, the same as last time. I'll do my best for everyone that comes to me. I'll make no promises, never did last time, but I'll do my absolute best, as best I can for each individual, no matter who they are. I'll fight for them in whatever problems they have.
And Joe, you've a grocers there in Callan, it's a kind of like a greengrocers, florist. It's a really kind of unique business you have in the heart of a rural area. And last year you held a very successful kind of rural Ireland meeting in Callan. That God, you got a massive crowd turnout on the night, and the weather was absolutely horrendous. But you had some really really good speakers, and there was a lot of very interesting remarks made on the night as regards where Ireland is going with agriculture.
Yeah, it was very successful, and there were a massive crowd turned up, which was probably a chance locally that people could actually talk to, someone from Brussels, someone from Dublin, and different ministers and TDs, and it made people like the second half of the night was as busy as the first half because people actually went to these people, and it's grand to get something off your chest, and you get an answer there and there on the night, and it makes a huge difference because there's a voice for people in rural Ireland there. The backbone of the country. And when it was local in Callan was very central. And we were surprised with the turnout. But even on the canvassing trail, that night was brought up a lot across in the rural areas. And I was delighted that it was actually done. Yeah, it was, extremely. And we're delighted. But then we got the support. But we had a great team there on stage that night as well. And I felt it went very well. But people are delighted to be able to talk to these ministers and EU ministers and all the rest. It made a big difference.
And Joe, with the business you run, you're dealing with farmers and producers on a regular basis. How would you assess the mood at the moment? Because Roisin and I were at an IFA meeting there in Gordon a couple of weeks ago, and they have a lot of concerns about what's happening and what's coming down the line from Europe.
Yeah, the farming community, they're going through a tough period now, a tough time. And farming was never easy, but every year there's been so much red tape added on year after year, and it makes the job, it's not as easy as it was, obviously.
No.
But this year they had the added disadvantage of the weather, constant rain. And in the circumstances, it's hard enough to farm in normal conditions. But when you have constant bad weather, it's really depressing. It's really, it gets people down. And they find it hard to, when I was in a place this morning now, and they were saying they're doing the work that they should have done last March, and that's they're way behind, and it's going to affect crops, it's going to affect potatoes, it's going to affect everything right across the board. and we're going to have to pay for it later
it
on in
hits
the
the
year. That's the
consumer
problem.
as well, because
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
And it's going to affect our food supply, the cost of living, and also when you think about that, affects the local economy.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you look around the world, other countries are getting it as bad. And it's either one extreme, good weather or bad weather. And that's affecting the supply. So before in Ireland, if you have a bad winter, you can import products, whereas now it's right across the world. And like it's having a huge impact. And I'd say we're only starting into this. And obviously the price will go through the roof, and it's the consumer at the end of the line that has to foot the bill.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe, you got a pretty good vote the last time. You'll be hoping to build on that and increase that. Your colleague, John Paul Phelan, the Fine Gael TD for Carlow Kilkenny, he's stepping down at the next general election. So Fine Gael will be looking for a new candidate at the next general election in Carlow Kilkenny. Would that be something that interests you?
Well, just I'd say that probably nobody, like there is a name in the hat already, and I say that nobody, everyone will see how they get on in the locals, because I mean, there's no point in jumping the gun, and no one say anything. I said the locals are over and see how they get on. And like John Paul even leaves a big void, and where he's situated, he was excellently situated down there in the south of Kilkenny, and it's going to be interesting to see who's going to try and go for the job. Um, like I wish John Paul the best in the future, and like it's not an easy job, and politics is not easy anymore. And you can see right across the country the amount of councillors that have retired and the amount of TDs, and like
Yeah,
it's
they're
fairly
stepping
stressful.
down.
They're stepping down, yeah, and it is very stressful. And I will say that social media doesn't help, but
No.
apart from all that, like it's a demanding job, and it's the one that you just have to give. If you don't give it 100%, you may as well give it up. You know, you have to give it 100% to survive. But right across the
And
country, there's so many gone. There's a third of the TDs gone, which in
wow.
any country is a huge amount,
And
and they're all,
a lot of them are Fine Gael
yeah,
TDs as
yeah,
well. So
yeah,
is it
yeah.
they've been in government for like nearly 14 years, and there's a bit of burnout there, and you know those that have could been promoted have been promoted. So a lot of TDs are kind of thinking like, well, maybe it's now time for me to go on and do something else.
Yeah, there's a bit of that. And then there's some of them, they're young and they have young families. And I suppose they're seeing, will I be always in this? Because if you spend too many years, you miss out on your family life. And I say there's a bit of that in it too. Some of them have young families and they've opted out to go back into business where they started off. And, they have more time then for their family at home.
Yeah, exactly. And if you were to say, Joe, from when you first got elected in 2019 to now, you say what was the biggest eye opener and what was the biggest kind of might have changed your thoughts or thinking on different things? Because let's not forget you were elected in 2019, and then you had 2020, 2021, which is pure COVID. Like the level of interactions people could have was extremely limited. So that must have been a challenge at the time.
Absolutely, yeah. But I will say, out of COVID, one good thing, well, a few good things came out of it. One good thing was Zoom. I thought it was one of the best things ever.
Yeah,
And
so we're having this
we're actually
interview
doing
on.
it now. Yeah. And
Yeah,
like, I'm just pulling out of the canvas trail now and do this interview, and off you go. Whereas before, you're traveling, you're parking up, you're looking for a space to park your car, you're doing the
yeah,
interview and back out again. So like a Zoom is instant, and it's brilliant. And we have come across so many people on the trail as well, on the canvas trail, that work from home. And I'd always ask them, are they happy doing that, or would they prefer to go back to the office? And I'd say 95% of them prefer it at home. And there is
yeah.
some that work 3 day or 4 day at home, but they love it. They think it's the best thing ever.
Yeah, it has kind of it's created new opportunities for people that weren't there, and especially people that had to commute long distances. Now they can work from home, and it's better for kind of work and family. But like everything, there are pros and cons to it as well. Some people are working from home constantly, and they will tell you that they would rather go back. But you look, different strokes for different folks, I suppose.
So, yeah, that's right.
So are you listening at the doors that people, families, especially families, they want to go back to basics, being able to work closer to home instead of the long distance travel? Really, Kilkenny, a lot of people are traveling to Dublin and Cork for work reasons. Are you finding that the people within your area are looking to get back to family values and working closer to home?
Yeah, I think anyone that if they get any chance of an opportunity of a job near home, they'll take it. It might be less money, but they'll take it because, like you can see on the motorway, there the cars they're job car sharing, carpooling, and going to Dublin, and it's an awful draw. It's grand if you're doing it for 1 week, but you're doing that constant every week. It's an awful drain, and like to have to do that and you have no choice. It's
Mm.
sad in one way. Some of the young people I spoke to now, they don't mind it, but they'll do it for a certain length and then, like, obviously get jobs back home. But it's great to see the likes of Abbott and places open up around Kilkenny.
Yeah.
And that's very important. And the more industry we can bring into Kilkenny, the better for everyone. And you're actually bringing people back from Dublin, Cork, Limerick, back towards Kilkenny. And hopefully
Yeah.
it'll that'll improve as well in the future.
And Callan, where you're from, Joe, it's kind of in the last 20 years, it has completely grown and expanded. I suppose the bypass had a huge impact in a positive sense as regards more new houses being developed. But Callan, it's a town that's got, a lot of different things going on in it.
Yeah. They were building houses in Callan where they weren't building them anywhere else. And at the moment, Friary Walk now, which is like a little, it's like a little village away from Callan. There's so many houses. At the moment, they're building 19, and they're hoping to build another 50 or 60 in the future. There's planning in above for at the Wine Gap end of the town, and we're hoping the developer there will get going. It's in there a while now, and we're just hoping to get going and finish the estate up there. And that'd be great. And like the housing is such a demand for housing, there should be no problem. They should be at it, up and at it, but they're see planning. You have to go through planning and rules and regulations, which are fairly strict. But like the more houses, obviously, the more people around, and it is a fairly vibrant town. We have a lot of work now to do on Bridge Street, which we have a dereliction officer in the council, and there's so many empty buildings there, and you have the problem of, say, a family owns them. It's hard
Yeah,
to sort it out immediately, and then you have buildings that they will not do up nor they will not sell. So this council have already CPO on a couple of buildings, and that's going to take 13 months. So within the next year, there should be a major change. The council have bought two buildings on Bridge Street, and they've bought two more off Bridge Street. So when they will be revamped, it'll make a big change. And once you have that moving, then the street will come back in again to a different. It won't return to the street it was, but you'll have people living on it, new
yeah,
apartments, and that'll make it. You'll have life back in the street again, and it'll be
that's
great.
massive. And the amalgamation of the CBS and St. Bridget's into Closhdarnry has gone well has gone well also.
Absolutely, yeah. We have a great primary school, Bunce called Macaulay Reach, and they have a great principal there, John Maloney, and they are absolutely flying as a school. But the amalgamation of Thomastown and Reed there over a year ago is so successful, and the students, I will say, they're accredited themselves. I was over there a few times now in the last couple of weeks, and it's such a vibrant place. And their problem, they're growing so big, and their demand for places that they have a problem now with space. And here you have a new
Wow,
school, and it's overgrown. It's really surpassing itself, and they have huge applications in for next year and the year after for the next couple of years for new students, which is great.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of young families living out in Callan with young children, and it really does bring life back to the rural communities, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And like some of the sports clubs, it's only now they're reaping the benefit of the new houses, the new families coming in because they're only at that age growing up. And the underage in hurling, in soccer, is brilliant out in Callan.
Mm.
And you see, it's only now they're taking part, and parents are getting to know other parents, and the whole thing. It's a new lease of life for Callan, where other
Yeah,
towns are, they're dying a death. This is where you have social activities and you have
yeah.
sports all intertwined, and it's looking
And it
well for the future of Callan.
and it helps the clubs as well. It creates demand for
Absolutely,
facilities
yeah,
and stuff like that. And I'm sure
absolutely,
they'll be knocking on your door and your colleagues' doors about facilities and amenities, which is only right
absolutely,
because people
absolutely.
if any club wants to progress and or you
Yeah,
know even
and you see,
maintain what they have, they
yeah,
need good facilities. So there's
absolutely,
a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, if you haven't the facilities, obviously the people who won't, they'll do other things than sport. And
Mm.
like we've worked hard with Callan groups and with Wine Gap and with Kells handball now are very, very successful. Down in Danesfort and GA and places like that. And they're all grown and they're
Yeah,
where they have young families and they're so successful right across the county there.
absolutely. Well, Joe, time is nearly against us now. We would have said you want to look down the camera and speak to our listeners and our viewers, but unfortunately they can't see you. But if you just want to just take a couple of moments to maybe talk to your electorate, and I just said the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Well, Friday is it's coming to an end now, all our canvassing. We have only a few days left, but I hope the good people of Callan Thomastown will look after me on Friday and return me to Kilkenny County Council, where I've worked so hard in the past 5 years. And as I've said, I'll work hard for everyone, no matter who they are. And they have a problem, they have an issue, I look after it, I'll do my best. I have done so much across the last 5 years. I feel fairly confident that I have given 100% and more for the people of Callan Thomastown. And I'd love to be returned again and get the opportunity because there's many, many issues coming down the track. And it's up to having a local councillor give the voice. And we cover the area right across Callan, Kells, Winegap, Dunnamaggin, Tullahocht, all right across down to Danesfort, Cuffs Grange, and anyone there, if they have an issue, they know where I am. So hopefully we
Absolutely.
get a vote number one on Friday.
Talk to Joe, as they say.
That's it. Now you have it. Thanks very much, Paul, and thanks to yourself and the media as well for giving us the
Absolutely.
opportunity. And it all, I said, it all helps all the advertising through the media as well.
So
Absolutely.
Joe,
Well,
Paul and
really
I
nice talking to you.
Paul and I be streaming live on YouTube up at the Count Centre. Maybe you'll come over and say hello to us when you're up there.
I will, of course, certainly, yeah, certainly. And
Fantastic.
hopefully it'll be good news. Hopefully.
Hopefully it'll
All
be
fingers
good.
crossed. Fingers crossed.
Cheers. Okay, thanks, Paul. Thanks, Roisin.
Thank you,
Bye.
Joe.
Have a good
Sure.
campus.
You too. Thanks a million. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.